Today we have an amazing, amazing panel, but first of all, I want to introduce the very, very fabulous Margo Carrington. She has put together this amazing panel, and let me just introduce her a little bit. This really doesn't do justice, but I'm going to do my best. So Margo retired in 2018 after a 25-year career as a public diplomacy foreign service officer. Over her 25-year career, Margo spent 15 years, 4 tours in Japan, including Tokyo, Yokohama, and Fukuoka, where she had the honor of representing the U.S. in Kyushu and Yamaguchi. While there, she worked very closely with JAS counterparts, the American Japan societies throughout her district. She also interacted closely on sister cities there, including Kagoshima with its sister city of Miami, close to Margo's roots in Fort Lauderdale. Just before Margo retired in 2018, she was awarded the Louis Roth Awards, the Department of State's most prestigious award for achievement in cultural diplomacy. Margo serves on the board of NAJAS, but is also here as the board member of the JAS North Carolina. I know Nick Stein is here. Yes, so the executive director of Michikawa. Margo is also, you wear so many hats, oh my goodness. Margo is also the VP of Asheville Sister Cities, but of all of these affiliations, Margo is most proud of being named a senior advisor to the 2025 U.S.-Japan Sister Cities Summit, which you'll be hearing about shortly. So big applause to Margo, and Margo,
Yes, folks. We're going
yeah, sorry, wasted time.
For those of you I bribed to not go to the baseball panel, your payment is coming on Venmo soon, I promise. But seriously, because this is a topic that I take extremely seriously, I want us to focus, I'm going to dispense with some of my comments, but really focus on the way that the JAS chapters lead the way in getting the message out about the importance of bilateral ties at the grassroots level, and how you work with citizen groups. A couple quick definitions. We're defining public diplomacy as the government-led effort to inform, engage, and influence foreign publics. Examples would be the Japan Foundation, which you heard about this morning, the section I used to work with in Tokyo, which of course was doing that on behalf of the US government in Japan, and important institutions like Japan House, and you will be hearing about the fabulous Japan House in LA in a few minutes. When we're talking about citizen diplomacy, we're talking about the grassroots approach that, again, groups like JAS take to build those personal relationships and foster mutual understanding, one handshake at a time. That's something I really love, because we've talked a lot about at this conference of, sort of bridging that last gap with youth, with influencers, etc. A couple keywords I've been taking away from this conference are collaborative, synergistic, and one that my mentor loves to use that I've adopted, catalytic people. And let me tell you, we're going to talk about all of that, and we have assembled a really good group of catalytic people for you today. So I'm going to go just very quickly. We've got everybody's affiliations in front of them, but in order in which they will speak, Margo Davis, who is with the Japan Culture Center of Western New York, and is also working very closely on the sister city relationship with Kanazawa. She has a theater background, and I would love to see all her other talents, but we're going to focus on those. We're going to focus on those talents today. Our next speaker will be Mary Zunick, who is the Cultural Affairs Manager of Visit Hot Springs. She's also working on very closely and directs the activities with the sister city, which is Hanamaki in Japan, also a hot spring onsen town. Great. And this, I'm quite urayamashi or jealous. She is the Honorary Consul of Japan at Hot Springs. Then we come to my left to Dr. Ricki Garrett. with whom we've already shared a lot of laughs. She is the president and CEO of Sister Cities International in Washington, D.C. She has served in local government, in education at very high levels. She was named one of the leading businesswomen in Mississippi, and you'll understand why. She did a dissertation on women in governance, and we could just go on, but we don't have time. And I do ask all of the panelists to add anything that we missed. And I don't want to say finally, because we are honored by the presence of Ms. Yuko Kaifu, who is, like me, a retired diplomat, so we share some commonalities, and served in postings in Tokyo, Canada, and LA. She later had a leadership role at the Japanese American National Museum in LA, which I'm sure many of you know about, and now is the president and CEO of Japan House, and you'll be seeing a lot more about that. Okay, so with that, we're actually going to take a very interesting approach today. We're going to talk micro level and then go to macro level. So we're going to start with the citizen diplomacy side with Margo Davis, who is going to have to lead us in a few short minutes. So with that, Margo, over to you.
Thank you. I don't blame the cat. Okay, I was, as you say, Japan, Western New York is my local affiliate, so to speak, and I was asked to share originally how many members, a few just housekeeping things, members and such. We have a total of 160 members. The annual membership dues are anything from $30 to $60. The work with the city government I will get to. And I think those were the things. But, okay, to share with you exactly how all of this works, the fact that we are both Japan, Western New York, and sister cities, it's essentially an umbrella that operates sister cities, but that is not how it started. This is not going to be a history lesson, but if you can remember or think or know about Frederick Law Olmsted, who designed the very first park system in the United States, in Buffalo, and it was exquisite. Jump ahead, just keep that in your head. Jump ahead, 1962, there was a sister city concept that came about with our between our Chamber of Commerce and Kanazawa in an effort to, of course, enhance the economy of Buffalo. And it did. And many cultural grassroots groups came through it, one of which was the Japan Group, which helped people resettle when they were coming over in many capacities, financially and in our economy. At any rate, many private programs came about, right down to studies in Ikebana. And the interest in all of these cultural groups grew and grew. But then in 1970, we began to feel the efforts of the economy. And the Chamber of Commerce asked the Rotary to join, and that was a little bit of a different scope in terms of Sister Cities Committee. And with that, there was a little bit of a rejuvenation on the private side. And in 1971, Kanazawa and Buffalo worked together to get Kanazawa Kenyuren garden, a Japanese garden, a small version of theirs. And that has been the linchpin of all of it. And from that, I'm going to have to go a lot faster because I'm going to catch my... Okay. But with that, the two cities were granted. Now, at the same time, since 1973, we've only had 3 mayors. And only one of them, serving a very short time, was at all interested in the Sister City thing. So we were working totally independently on a citizens' grassroots handshake way with very, very little government input. One liaison to the mayor who dealt with all the sister cities with whom we had minimal relationship. but we keep it going because so many of the people were so interested in so many things Japanese. We ended up with a Japanese studies program at the State University, all sorts of things. Skip ahead, the 70s and the 80s, we were hit with 3 different recessions, and Japan business was essentially gone. And so now we have one leg in the stool, and that is us. And so I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Takamichi. She was very instrumental in keeping all of this going, but one of the things that she did, she was the one who had the foresight in 1994 to refocus and reshape and turn this into a members-driven group and call it the Japan Culture Center of Western New York. We do not have a roof. We are just a group. But she had the foresight thinking that that's how that will go forward. And so we are still in the grassroots end because of the economy, and as you've been hearing in many of the sessions. However, even with the mayors that have done nothing, we now are about to embark on a new mayor who was a state senator, whose daughter was a Janet. And he is absolutely thrilled. He's been to Kanazawa. He is knee-deep in getting the garden back on track because, as you can see, economically, it all went away. It's still there. It's just not in good shape. There are Eagle Scouts who have been doing things for it, and that's really fun. There's the Friends of the Japanese Garden, who is a volunteer group of gardeners. There are horticulture groups from the high school. There are elementary school kids that we have used that as part of their curriculum, and thank you notes and pen pals and all of that. So yes, there is no money, but there is heart and there's hope. And with that, I'm going to have to move.
Yes, thank you for bringing your heart to this.
We may be little, but we're fierce. Go Buffalo.
Margo, safe travels, safe travels. I mean, I think one of the key points that Margo very eloquently brought out in the very short time she had is that local support at the city level. So Mary, I want to just turn to you next because, like I think Buffalo, you have an unusual structure. So if you could go sort of through that, and your funding mechanism is also brilliant and very inspirational for, I think, other grassroots organizations, including some possibly in the room here. So if you could go through that for a few minutes, and then we'll talk more, but if you could start with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me today. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, we all bring our own backgrounds. And you know that saying, necessity is the mother, or what is it?
Yeah.
Necessity is the mother. Well, that could be the theme for Hot Springs. Our sister city program with Hanamaki, Japan was established in the early 90s, 1993. And it was established under the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm sure they had grand visions of their own Toyota plant in Hot Springs, or we're a little jealous over there of what you've got going on here, or some huge economic impact. And from Hanamaki's side, Hanamaki's a small town in rural northern Japan. Bill Clinton is from Hot Springs, and they probably were pretty excited to have the boyhood home of Bill Clinton. So, but it never, that vision never really came to fruition. We thrived on cultural and educational exchange. Eventually it moved over to the city, and in 2008, a rather conservative leadership in our, I'm singing the same song as other people have done before, that we didn't have funding. That happened about a month after I was hired. Makes you, that's your career choice there. But we were very fortunate that we had leadership on our board that put a strong pitch and leaned on our Advertising and Promotion Commission, our CBD, and really talked about the impact of tourism. Even if it's educational exchange, even if it's an adult delegation, it has economic impact through tourism. Hot Springs is a tourism community. We have, for a population of 35,000 people in our city, we have just over 9 million visitors per year. So that's where we have revenue for that. So they made a strong pitch and we're successful in that. So to this day, even our Sister City program, the staff position is funded through the Visit Hot Springs, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Other than that, our programming funds, for programming, we have a 501c3 nonprofit, which allows us to apply for grants, and that's where all of the scholarship funds go for our student exchanges. That happens through the 501c3, which is led by a dedicated group of volunteers. So we work together with the city. Basically, I call the city manager when we need something and say, I need someone to come to this. But the city does send, they send department heads or city directors or the mayor. Someone goes about every year with our delegation. But so that's just kind of how it works for our city. But we all, I know, have unique situations and bring different assets to the table for sure.
Well, thank you. I think just this idea that the sort of business development side of your city could somehow help fund the exchange organizations or the Sister City Committee is a good way to go. Is that not correct?
Yes, we do have economic impact. It only took us 30 years. We now have origami sake, so there we go. It finally came about. 30 years, you know.
But again, I think it's sort of a great model to think about. So we're going to turn and pivot slightly, and of course Mary is intricately involved in Sister City Matters, and I'm thrilled that we could have Ricki Garrett here. Had the pleasure of meeting her now a couple of times. She, as you heard, has played so many incredible roles, which allows her to run a massive organization that supports all of the Sister City partnerships between the U.S. and all of the countries in the world. And I don't know how she could even keep any of that straight. So if we could turn to you now, Ricki, and talk a little bit about, how SCI is Sister Cities International is structured and funded. Your contact that you have with Japan American societies or equivalent types of organizations in other countries. And then I'd like to just hear, I think it'd be useful for everyone to hear your connection with the State Department, where I used to work, of course, which hopefully will still be standing in a few months. And then you've got to, do you'll have the fantastic honor of teeing up what I think is really going to be an absolutely, gangbuster event of more than 300 people assembling in Kansai in just a few weeks to celebrate the 460 relationships between the U.S. and Japan. And I'll add just one thing, and I hope I'm not stealing your fire. When I really got to think about it, Nagasaki used to be in my district when I was in charge of Kyushu and Yamaguchi, and the thought that 10 years after the U.S. dropped a bomb, we formed the first U.S. Sister City partnership between St. Paul, Minnesota, and Nagasaki. If you really stop to think about that for a minute, it will blow your mind. So this is all thanks to the work of Sister Cities International. So over to you.
Thank you, Margo. And it's such a pleasure to be with you all today, and it's a privilege to have the opportunity to talk about Sister Cities International, and that story is certainly at the very heart of what Sister Cities International does. For those of you who don't know, Sister Cities International was founded by President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1956 to bring peace to the world through citizen diplomacy. As a wartime general, President Eisenhower knew firsthand the devastation that could be caused by war. And he knew that the only way to have lasting peace in the world is through these people-to-people relationships and these partnerships between cities in the U.S. and cities in other countries. And so for almost 70 years, Sister Cities International has been living out President Eisenhower's dream of peace through citizen diplomacy, and we now have 431 U.S. cities that are members of Sister Cities International. Those cities have 1,800 partnerships in 140 countries of the world. And I am very proud to be able to say that in the past 2 years, we've grown the membership of Sister Cities International by 52%. So we're very excited about that, and I know you are excited about the fact that the most Sister City partnerships that we have are with Japan. And we're very proud of that, and we work very hard to maintain those Sister City partnerships. And in the past year, actually, it's really been in the past 2.5 years, we have really been focused on Japan and the work that we are doing with Japan, and I want to share just a couple of those areas of focus with you. First of all, a little over a year ago, Sister Cities International was awarded a $2.1 million grant from the Department of State to recruit, train, and manage 89 youth ambassadors at the U.S. Pavilion at the World Expo in Osaka. And so for the past year, we've been doing that. We put out an application and had 1,500 young people between the ages of 19 and 27 to apply for these 89 positions. We ended up interviewing 300 students, and out of those 300 students that we did Zoom interviews with, 89 were selected. And then we spent months training them online and in person, and they are now representing the U.S. very well in Osaka, and we're very proud of the work that they're doing. Secondly, 3 years ago, our current board chair, Carlo Capua, made the decision that when he became board chair, he wanted Sister Cities to do a summit in Japan. And so we have been working toward that goal. And in September 16 through 19, we will be hosting, I believe it will be around 400 people in Isumisano at the Stargate Hotel. And it is going to be 4 days of wonderful seminars on Japan-U.S. relationships. It'll include some really wonderful networking opportunities and fun events. But the highlight, of course, will be a full day in Osaka at the World Expo. And we're going to also be celebrating America 250 by hosting some receptions at the Expo to recognize some of our milestone anniversaries. So we're very much looking forward to that. And so Japan has definitely been important to Sister Cities International. And we really work with a lot of partners in DC, including the State Department, as you can tell. Another initiative that we've been working on for several years is our 7 for 70 initiative, which came out of the efforts of the State Department and the White House National Security Council to build better relations in the Pacific Islands. And so we have been working for several years to build sister city partnerships between U.S. cities and those Pacific Islands. And we're hoping that by the 70th anniversary of Sister Cities, we will have built those 7 partnerships. So the State Department has definitely been a long-time ally and partner. But the Japan-American societies are definitely organizations that we enjoy working with and want to continue to work with to build more and more of these partnerships between our 2 countries. And we also partner, of course, with other international organizations in DC, such as Meridian, Global Ties, Friendship Force. There's so many who all work in the realm of citizen diplomacy, but not in the same way that Sister Cities does. And so we're thankful for those partners, and we do believe that relationship building that we're doing with these other organizations and the State Department are one reason that we've been able to grow Sister Cities so much, and will help us to continue to do that in the future.
Thank you, Ricki. I think I'm on. Yeah, you raise an important point, which is something where I think we can ask for the help of people in this room, which is that about 400 people are coming, but not enough Japanese partners. So to the extent that you have Sister Cities, please be talking to your American city to try and encourage them. Well, first, they should also be going if they're not, but they should certainly be encouraging their sister cities in Japan to attend, because we don't want to have a bunch of people come from the U.S. and be in a room in Izumisano, Kansai, speaking to one another and not to the Japanese that they've come to talk to. So also hoping for assistance at high level of the Japanese government to get that message out, and I'm working on that. I'm working every possible contact on that. And if you were here for the Tuesday session, Wednesday session, I forget what day we are now, that Paige Cunningham Streeter did, talking about youth engagement and how to work with academia and businesses on internships. She mentioned having met the youth ambassadors at Expo and how fantastic they are. They are really a lot of Jet alums in that group, lots and lots of Jets, and man, they are representing the Jets in a really fantastic way. Yuko-san, if you could give us a little bit of a background on sort of what was the impetus for creating the Japan houses and this particular one, and a little bit of the pressure you must feel to show results for this investment that's been made.
Of course, first and foremost, I really appreciate this opportunity, because the first time that Japan has been invited to take part in this annual conference, and it feels so nice because many of you are bilinguals and know about Japan already, so I don't have to start explaining about Japan. And so, but then at the same time, I know that once I make mistakes, you can pinpoint it. I have to be rather careful. But and I also talked about Japan House yesterday over lunch, so I didn't want to bore you by repeating the same thing. So that's why I thought that it'd be good to show the video. So it was created by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan under the Abe administration to showcase the best of Japan, because Japan should be more proactive at getting the words out to showcase various assets of Japan, not just art, but then from art to science, technology, business, tourism promotion, academic promotion, gastronomy, including sake, shochu, you name it. So that's why it was situated in a place like Hollywood. You probably were wondering how expensive it is to maintain it, and it's expensive. So I really appreciate the Japanese government for the funding that we received, because we received funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so it's located in 3 locations in the world: São Paulo, Brazil, London, UK, and Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is the only one in North America. So we're supposed to cover the entire USA, although we are still pretty much focused in California, particularly Southern California. So we do a lot of programs. As you saw, we do exhibitions on the second floor, right in front of the entrance of the Dolby Theater. We do have a shop, which is an independent business run by the company called Waza, based in New York, based out from New York. And then on the fifth floor, we do have a library. In the event hall, we call it salon. We do carry out a lot of seminar, workshops, reception, food events, because we do have a demonstration kitchen there. And we try to work with the restaurant, which is another independent business. It's kind of expensive. Unless you ask me later, I'm not going to tell how much it is. Just to say that I can't afford to go there. But when we have a high-end reception, we try to cater from Oka restaurant to provide food of high quality. So I think that it's working very well. Just to add to your introduction about me, if I may, between Japanese American National Museum and Japan House, I worked at Union Bank which was the U.S. subsidiary of MFG. And I have to say this because I have my ex-colleague here. But, oh yes, you're serious. So anyway, I'm terrible counting my money. So the department that I was hired into was corporate communications and CSR. So I was there for 6 years, and they were taking care of me financially very well. Package was good, right? But then when this one came up and the job was offered to me, I thought that I felt so passionate about it, to do something that has never been done before. And it's not part of the government. It's funded by the government, but it's the idea under the administration is that let's create something that can be locally run, depending on the power of local team, and making the best use of the power of the private sector as well. So that's something that has never been done by the Japanese government, and it's going really well. So I really appreciate the project. And you're talking about how we gauge of course, the government is spending a lot of money on this project. We have to show the results. And usually, so we call it KPI, right? Usually they gauge the success by numerical numbers, like the number of visitors. And by the way, we opened the doors 7 years ago, so we marked just seventh year. It's going to mark the 7th year in a few days. My colleague, Lisa Nakanoguchi, is a PR marketing director, and who kind of put together that video as well. So in a few days' time, we will mark the 7th year. And our sisters, like Sao Paulo, is hugely successful. We just passed 1 million. We received more than 1 million visitors this past June. But Sao Paulo is getting like 4,000 people a day. And at the most, like the record high was like 5,000 people a day, which we cannot compare ourselves. And London is doing well as well. So the numerical numbers, the visitors numbers, how many people are repeating their visits? How can you gauge it, right? Because we cannot really go to every visitor and say, so have you visited here before, right? But then they want us to kind of rank or something like that. The media coverage is another thing. Newsletter subscription number, which we're like 33,000 subscribers, and it's growing. And the opening rate of newsletter is another thing. I'm sure that all of you are getting newsletters from numerous numbers of companies, organizations, right? It's very important for them to feel prompted to open. And the opening rate is like 50%, which is really high, so we're proud of that. Website visitors, and we run surveys, and that surveys ask a whole bunch of questions. Like, we don't want it to be too long, because then they say, oh, I thought that I was going to fill it out, but it's too long. But then substantive parts of the questions is like, how did you get to know about us? What would you do because of the visit to Japan House today? Like, are you going to check out about Japan? Have you decided to go to Japan? Are you thinking about going to Japan to study? All these kind of questions, which is like, okay, how can you tell? Right, so there are numerical numbers, semi-numerical numbers, which are not necessarily 100% accurate. And I think what is even more important is the midterm, long-term effect. Like, because it's not like achievable. It cannot be achieved in a day or two. It takes a long time for people to develop their interests and start doing something actively and become a member of Japan American Society, Sister City Association, and then eventually go to Japan to study or to work. But then these are the kind of things which are most important, but it's very hard to gauge.
Thank you. I think this idea of how any of us measure impact of what we're doing is critical, and we've all got stakeholders in one form or another to respond to. Mary, in your case, you're also dealing with some people who are looking at it in rather dollars and cents terms. So how are you measuring impact?
Well, specifically how we measure impact, for example, I was going to talk a little bit about our local partnerships as well, and that's one way we really increase our impact is by bringing others on board. Whether it's our local school districts, we have very passionate art teachers who are out there promoting different aspects of the and the local library. All of them come into play when we plan our Cherry Blossom Festival, the Arkansas Cherry Blossom Festival. It's really more of a Japanese cultural event. And we bring others on board with that. I said, Visit Hot Springs provides staff support. That's me. That does not provide programming support. And so in order to increase our numbers, increase our impact, promote with marketing, all of those things, we could not pull off an event like that without our local partners. And one way that we wanted to increase our impact so that we could have more people, so that we could share our sister cities' culture with more people than just exchanges, just hosting someone, just sending a student abroad. We wanted a way to increase that, so we came up with this Cherry Blossom Festival. It started out as a fundraiser, just a cocktail party. Then it grew to a fundraiser where you had a few, dozen people, a few hundred people who could come and purchase a ticket, but it was still very limiting on the opportunity to experience the culture. So we transitioned from that format to a festival, which we form thanks to these partnerships to act in different ways at the festival, whether it's our Garland County Library having a huge anime exhibit and the anime cosplay contest, that they bring in a whole different segment. We have the art teachers, we have Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts that are a part of that Cherry Blossom Festival, so that everybody can come. It's free, so everybody can experience Japanese culture and see the shows. We also offer a little bit extra as a fundraiser aspect so that we can capitalize on having all of these passionate people who want to learn about Japanese culture, and we charge for the workshops, so that helps us underwrite the expense of the festival and raise scholarship money. And last year, or the last 2 years, we've been very fortunate to have a very important partnership with the Sake Brewers Association of North America. Wes brought Sake Fest, and we even had sumo wrestlers visit Hot Springs, brought sumo wrestlers for the first time in Arkansas the last 2 years. So, those partnerships are important. It gets people excited about it. It makes you appeal to more people. And we gauge who has been there and their impression and how we can plan better events in the future by doing surveys. So we just do a Google form to everybody who shows up at one of the workshops, because we have all of their email addresses captured, and use the information gathered from those surveys to make changes and make improvements from year to year.
Thank you so much. We are getting a little short on time. Ricki, I'll just ask you to answer briefly, and I apologize for that. Obviously gauging impact from your perspective is also very tricky. How do you approach that?
Well, I often tell people that we have a wonderful headquarters in Washington, D.C. with a great staff and wonderful programming, but the heart and soul of Sister Cities International is our local programs. Whether that's high school or university educational exchanges, or whether that's the Bubble Tea Festival in Rockville, Maryland, that brings 15,000 people to Rockville every year, or the International Folk Art Festival in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that brings artisans from other countries to Santa Fe. In fact, we've got, besides Mary, we've got Janet Houston, state rep from Ohio. We've got Kay Sargent, state rep from Kentucky here. And they do fabulous programming on the local level. So probably that local programming is one way we test how well we're doing, but we also work really hard to grow membership at Sister Cities International, and we provide enormous help to cities that want to be involved with Sister Cities. And I want to just quickly mention our boots on the ground calls. If you are a city that wants to start a sister city, or re-engage a dormant sister city partnership, or build an economic development project, we will get on a Zoom call with you and whoever you want to be on there. And our membership manager and I and some of our state reps will help you as you begin to do the work of Sister Cities International. And our state reps have spent years developing toolkits that teach you how to do everything from starting a sister city, to doing a signing, to building sister librarian programs. So I want to encourage you to reach out to us, because there is tremendous interest in sister cities right now. We get calls every day from people wanting to build these partnerships in Poland, Ukraine, Japan. It's amazing how much interest there is, and we want to build as many partnerships as possible.
No, I think we talked about over the course of this conference the importance. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The importance of making sure that the grassroots relationship remains strong as a sort of buffer and cushion, I'm not thinking of the right word, as things get tricky at the government-to-government level. And so I think the interest, I'm guessing, is partly a reflection of that. And I have used that toolkit because I'm on a personal mission to find a Japanese sister city for Asheville. I'm hoping to come back from Japan with at least a good candidate. I'm not idealistic enough to think I'll have anything in the hand, but at least some ideas. So we are running short of time. I want to leave time for Q&A. I just did want to give give Yuko-san 1 minute, Kaifu-san, sumimasen, just 1 minute to give us a real quick example of when you've engaged, maybe even before your time at Japan House, with Japan America Societies and the Sister City piece, and you saw something really effective.
Thank you. 1 minute. So there are so many things that we cannot do by ourselves, right? Partnership is the name of the game, and we heavily rely on the partnerships. With the J5, we call JTO, Japan Foundation, JTO, and ourselves. But then we also work closely with the Japan America Society of Southern California, Asian Society of Southern California, basically for two benefits. One is to reach out to potential speakers. So in 2019, before the pandemic, we worked with Japan Society of Southern California to do webinar on, that was in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, when we worked with Japan American Society of Southern California to do webinar with the speakers, the athletes, Olympians, who were supposed to enter into the Olympic Games in 2020. But then, so we interviewed, we had a webinar, and Japan American Society, we do have a representative here, Vivian Usui on the board. They reached out to the speakers, and we do not have the network of two, and also Asia Society of Southern California, we often do cross promotion because we can reach out to the wider number of people. One time we did have a webinar on anime featuring Demon Slayer, and we could get close to 1,000 viewers. So, and Mary, as a matter of fact, came to Japan House to do, that was back before the pandemic in 2019, on the subject matter of arigato, host town initiative thing, because Mary, of course, the hot spring is the sister city of Hanamaki. And so in that regard, you came to Japan House to speak. So that and I didn't know you.
Yes, I know.
So
we reconnected.
Yeah, so that's the power of partnership.
So this is what NAJAS does, right? We convene and we bring people back together. So we're glad to have done our job there. So let's open this up for questions. I do ask you keep your questions brief. Those of you who've been in Japan know it can sometimes be 4 paragraphs followed by a question. Let's just go right to the question. Identify yourselves and keep it brief. Give your affiliation and your name, and we'll try and get your answers for you. I think I'm going to need to share this mic. Here we go. This fine, perfect. So, questions, please. Oh, we have our friend in the back from, I'm going to get it wrong, Wisconsin? Oh my gosh, okay.
And I run Japan inside of Gaza. I apologise, I'm asking this question without having been on the boots on the ground call or having looked at the NCI toolkit. But I would love to look at those resources. What's some tips that you might have in terms of identifying groups of interested volunteers that are essentially going to be like the engine of driving sister city relationships and making sure that once you establish the initial connection, it's sustainable over time?
Sustainability, quite critical.
Part of our sister cities programs, are housed in city government. They are run by someone in the city government, but many of them are run out of 501c3 nonprofits in the city. And I will say that those that have a lot of volunteers who have a strong volunteer base probably are sustainable over time in ways that maybe ones that are in City Hall aren't. One problem, Sister Cities has, like other organizations, is an aging population, and so we work really hard to try to get young people interested in Sister Cities and getting involved. And I think universities offer a great place to look for those volunteers. Librarians are wonderful sister cities. Volunteers, school teachers, business people. You certainly want business people on your board so that you can utilize their business expertise and fundraising ability. So those are just some of the places you can search for the man.
Okay, you've got another question here.
Actually, more of a comment, and maybe to answer your question, we were able to, at my touring Japan side in New Orleans, revive our sister city relationship with Matsui Shimane through a Tomodachi exchange. And really revived it then, and that brought in our exchange focused on young professionals because we needed immediate impact. Each students are great, they're the seeds for the future. But as all volunteers decided, I need it right now. So we were able to capture, we've got board members, we've done several exchanges over time, and we've always convinced the city of Matsue that regardless of whatever administration is in place, you'll always have friends here and reach out to us. And you don't necessarily, it's great to have an administration there, but they're very cyclical.
Yeah, no, they come and go, and the 501c3 is going to be there, but the volunteers are critical in that regard. Great. We have time for a few more questions. Thank you, Mike, for that great suggestion of Tomodachi. Absolutely. I know everybody's tired, but come on.
I'm the Jim.
Thanks, Jim Yannick, Peace Woods America. I have a 4-paragraph comment on Western. But I work with disaster relief now, but in a previous position, one thing that we did was track in 2011 after the tsunami fundraising in the U.S. charitable gift, and it was off the chart to $750 million plus the private donations made to help with Japanese recovery. And one of them was actually Hot Springs, I know, raised quite a large sum of money for Hanamaki. And that was one of the touching things, the way that these sister cities provide engaging mutual support. I'd be interested, you see other ways that the sister city relationships are activated to contribute to both sides that we don't expect to see, and touch pens.
That was a part of my presentation to civic organizations for quite a while, was the compassion exchange is what I called it. We had evacuees come to Hot Springs from New Orleans after Katrina. And actually that started, ours was just a reaction because they had already helped us take care of evacuees who came to Hot Springs. And so our reaction was just, and we jumped on it quickly with getting on news stations and setting up, and were able to raise money to support. Even though Hanamaki was not directly impacted as much, it was, we wanted to show them we cared. It was debilitating to see the devastation in that area and to know that if a city an hour away was wiped away, you would know people there or have relatives. And so thank you for remembering that. But yeah, that drew us much closer, I think, the shared impact of that.
Thank you. Another question? Wonderful. Thank you.
Brett.
Hi, so Brett Spotty out of Summit, Colorado. I have a question for Ifum-san. So when you're rotating out exhibits or items to carry at Japan House, how do you go about selecting those items as far as which ones will resonate with the U.S. audience to drive foot traffic and drive those metrics?
For those, are you talking about the exhibitions or programs or?
A little bit of everything, honestly.
Okay, so the exhibitions, we do have two types. One is a rotating touring exhibition, which is decided, which tours around the 3 locations of Japan House, Consul, and Sao Paulo, and LA, which decided by the committee put together by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan. The other type is original. So, for example, about 2 years ago, we hosted the Pokemon meets Koge Japanese craftsmanship exhibition, which was the most popular exhibitions that we've ever hosted. It was very original, and because we thought that, okay, we're located in Hollywood. And so we have to cater to those people who are not just interested in Japan, but also people who walk around Hollywood who look for something something more like not necessarily high culture and high art, but then something that they're familiar with. So that was like we got 150,000 visitors over 5-6 months. So that's something that the rotating touring exhibition is often like more high art, high culture. So we want to gauge, look at the audience, the nature of people in the city, in the United States, and likewise the programs as well. However, we just don't do pop culture or entertainment or film related programs because we found that there's increasing number of American people who are interested in spiritual part of Japan, the history, culture, mindfulness, all these. So we do like aroma therapy kind of thing or Zen meditation, and they are all sold out very quickly. So it's a variety of things, but then carefully looking at what people want in the United States.
We'll take just one more question. Thank you.
Jane Kelly from Aviation Society, State of Washington, and CIA US in the context here. There was mention of one of the potential support organizations. You brought it up, and it's been heard earlier too, but Tomodachi Foundation that was established after the disaster at Kauai. My understanding is that their funding streams dried up, dried up, and that they aren't necessarily a good source. I know that we've dropped support from them for our aggressors exchanges, and I wanted to clarify that. Is that true? And Ricki, I think that probably is for you.
Are we, just to clarify, Admiral Kelly, are we asking about the U.S.-Japan Council's program?
Yes.
Okay, we do have USJC members here who could also address that, but Ricki, please go ahead.
We got word just a week or two ago that 23, I believe it was, programs that had asked for 2025 funding from the State Department were not going to be funded. We just were so relieved at Sister Cities International because we were not on that list. Our 2025 core grant funding is still in process. Now, that's not to say it will definitely be funded, but apparently 23 programs, and that was one of them, obviously, were sent a letter that they would not be funded.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a member of the U.S. Japan Council, and I was on the board of the council. So let me talk from the perspective. Of course, after 2011, there were so many Japanese companies who depended to support it, who created their own programs, and some of them discontinued, but then others continued on. So it's not like, and it's primarily funded by Japanese companies. So that's okay, and it still continue on, and then sometimes expand over not just to cover devastated areas, but then nationwide. So that's how I describe it.
Yeah, and my impression, again, I'm a USJC member as well, is that the corporate side of the House is still very much providing extremely good funding. In fact, some organization in this room would find that maybe there's less available to them because USJC is so good at doing what they do. But I would say also that one of the issues, and besides that, they've been very good at creating new programs, like there's a Watanabe Scholarship. So this very wealthy individual wanted to give money towards scholarships. He chose USJC to administer it because of their success, with the Tomodachi Initiative. So they are diversifying in a way. But one of the things is they're going to start to run out of young Japanese to be on this program pretty soon. I mean, they've had a lot already. So I don't think, and I think we need to just come back to you, maybe USJC. Did you want to, we have another USJC member here, but we'll, get you a more definitive answer. It is not my impression that they are running out of funds anytime soon. So I would at least try and certainly get that in that. Oh yes, I forgot. Mary, please.
So winged about I guess I should wait on my even though I have a teacher voice but yes I'm also on the U.S. Japan Council and I have participated in some of the awards programs. So the Mineta Awards programs, which is a relatively new one, which really does work to help fund other programs that are doing exchange programs. And so I do know that part of that was funded through the State Department. Part of it was also through companies, right? I think one of the things that the U.S. Japan Council started initially with the Tomodachi Initiative, but has done in other areas is that public-private partnership. So I think sometimes a little kernel of truth becomes a little bit bigger maybe, but some pieces have UIF, but I would agree that the corporate side definitely has not, and I think that U.S. Japan Council is also working very hard to continue to fund different things.
I agree. I agree. So I think on that very optimistic note, that there is still funding from various sources. Laurasian Institute is here, and of course they provide some wonderful resources for all of us who are promoting Japan as well. So you should talk to those folks as well. So we are going to end on an optimistic note, and keep in mind again the synergistic nature of what we're all trying to do, and sort of figure out where these things meet and how we can really leverage each other's capabilities. But I think maybe because I'm tired, I tend to get maudlin. I just want to also think about the fact that there is discouraging news out there, but this is our ikigai, all of us, right? And so that source of energy, at least for me, doesn't diminish no matter how horrible the news is. And who can even listen to this anymore? And then sort of this idea, and I love the compassionate giving concept of, if you're leading with your heart, and we all are so well-intentioned and we believe in this relationship at such a deep level, that comes through. And that comes through when you're asking for money for something, when you're asking for volunteers to come and help. And I think we need to lean into that with optimism. And on what I hope is an optimistic note, would like to thank you all for coming. Thank you for the fantastic questions, and thank you our panelists for